Good morning, everyone. Hope my voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we'll start in another 7 minutes. We are waiting for Pratik to join. Once Pratik joins, we'll start. Good morning, everyone. Hope my voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We'll start in another 7 minutes. We are waiting for. Hey, Pratik. Good morning.
Yeah, hi Mujib. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We were waiting for you, so we have under 2 minutes of time. In the meantime, I have made you co-host. Just check it out if you got the access for sharing the screen.
Yes, I got the access.
Wonderful. So we'll wait for a couple of more minutes and then we'll start as per the agenda.
Perfect.
Good morning,
So how's
Pratik.
the weather in Ahmedabad?
It's quite hot, but these days it's raining quite
Yeah,
often.
yeah. The same is happening with Hyderabad as well as Tamil Nadu also. So it's raining here and there.
Good morning, Pratik. Viresh here.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Videsh.
Good morning.
Viresh, I made you co-host so that something goes here and there, you can also pitch in.
Yes, yes.
So sharp by 11 o'clock we'll start.
Yeah, couple more minutes.
Yeah. So for the group, to avoid any confusions or concerns, I'm removing all accesses for the students. Only the co-host can unmute and switch on the videos. The other people will be just able to chat with us. So if you have any troubles or questions, at the end, you will be given a chance to ask questions, so that to avoid any confusions or last minute unmutes or switching on the videos. So Pratik, you, Viresh, and Hana and me can unmute and talk, but other people will not be able to talk. So Viresh, it's 11 o'clock sharp. So can we
Yes,
go ahead, start the session?
yes, sure. Hannah, would you take over on this part? Introduction speech?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can address the group.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So, good morning, one and all. I am Hannah Christina. I'm Hannah Christina, a trainee at Clinosol Research Private Limited. I am honored to be your host for today's event, which is dedicated to the advanced certification in drug safety, career growth in pharmacovigilance. On behalf of Clinosol Research Private Limited, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you as we come together in this virtual space for an informative and insightful webinar. We are proud to have the organizer company, Clinosol Research Private Limited, being a Clinosol Research career catalyst and an advanced clinical research institute offering job-oriented clinical research training programs to provide career-ready professionals. We are also grateful to have our associate partner company, Surgeon Technologies Private Limited, who provides business solutions with a technology edge for digital transformation and automation with its own proprietary technology stack offerings. Together, both the organizer and associate partner have combined their expertise and resources to bring you a comprehensive and an insightful learning experience that will help you advance your career in the field of pharmacovigilance. Today, we are going to focus on the following points in webinar: the importance of the advanced certification program for the students and its benefits for PV career growth, tailor-made certificates for different career roles based on industry demand and qualifications, practical tool learning for students to achieve career growth, unique features of PB Edge and main reasons for partnering with Clinosol for certification training, PV career opportunities for professionals in both India and abroad. Before we proceed, let me introduce you to Clinosol Research Private Limited, our hosting organization. Clinosol was founded in the year 2019 in Hyderabad by its founder and CEO, Mr. Mujibuddin CS, as a private limited company under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. I would like to bring your attention to the following points about Clinosol. So Clinosol is an ISO certified and MSME and a trademark registered organization. Clinosol offers three major service wings: training, resource consulting, and corporate GXP training services. The training wing handles 6 different courses taught by industry experts with over 15 plus years of real-time experience. Recognized as the first institution to place maximum students in a year with 220 students in 2022 and 343 students in 2021. We have already placed over 35 students since January this year. Clinosol encourages students to write blogs, publish articles, and presentations, and participate in competitions during special health days and events. They provide complimentary training sessions on communication skills, Microsoft Excel, pharmacology, data analytics, etc. Students have written more than 500 plus blogs and published 100 plus review articles in various national and international pharmaceutical publication journals. They're committed to bridging the gap between academia and industry. Academic partner for national and international conferences. The Clinosol students were selected as panel members for specially designed academia focused sessions at prestigious conferences. They are official corporate member of the Association of Clinical Data Management and the Association of Clinical Research Professionals. Clinosol offers one-year student memberships from both organizations to provide additional learning opportunities. They invested in cutting-edge databases like PV Edge and Clinion to provide hands-on training in pharmacovigilance and clinical data management. They provide industry mentorship to students in clinical data management, clinical data analysis, and genomic sequencing programming. Clinosol partners with Inference, a data mining company, and Taxium Solutions to offer mentorship from industry experts. The emphasis on practical based learning and industry mentorship to prepare students for the demands of the industry. The goal of Clinosol is to provide students with the knowledge, skills, and real world experience they need to succeed in the clinical research industry. Now, let me introduce you to Surgeon Technologies Private Limited. Surgeon has been providing information technology enabled solutions since 1998 to various industry verticals. Surgeon has a unique business style and has been known to architect, design, and develop proprietary technology stacks with enormous careful thought and consideration. Surgeon continually invests its effort to observe cutting-edge technology for innovative solutions. Surgeon has developed many solutions using web and desktop technologies and native mobile apps. Surgeon's flexible delivery approach merges its domain expertise with the proprietary technology stack for solution implementation success. Surgeon's own intellectual property provides a leverage in offering various customer-friendly, customized pricing models. All Surgeon products can be easily integrated with industry standard expertise application. Surgeon's project management and consulting teams seamlessly execute integration projects, ensuring high throughput. Surgeon excels in data-heavy business applications, which necessitate a high volume of data processing. Analytics on such data sets is then used to derive insightful perspectives on business strategy. Now, I'm bringing your attention to our distinguished speakers for the event. Firstly, I would like to mention Mr. Mujibuddin CS, the CEO and founder of Clinosol Research Private Limited, with over 15 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. He has an in-depth understanding of the latest trend in advancements in the field of pharmacy. He will share his expertise and knowledge on the topic and give you an insight into the emerging and futuristic opportunities in this domain. Secondly, let me introduce you to Mr. Pratik Pandey, a business analyst professional who transitioned as a pharmacovigilance associate with experience in end-to-end pharmacovigilance activities involving case processing, quality review, submission, aggregate reporting, and training. He's currently working as SME product manager at Surgeon System for PVH application. Once again, I welcome you all to this webinar event and thank you for allowing me to speak today about both Clinosol and Surgeon, our hosting organizations. It's an honor to have this opportunity to share a little about what we do and how we impact a community. Without further ado, now I would like to hand over this session to Mr. Mujibuddin. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much. Hope my voice is audible, Hannah and Viresh.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's audible.
Thank you so much. And it's obviously a Saturday morning, so full of crowd. So to understand about what is the changing landscape and what is the future of pharmacovigilance and above and beyond. So now currently we were speaking about a lot of pharmacovigilance and scope of pharmacovigilance. So if I remember 10 years back, so pharmacovigilance job was allied job which was being taught, and pharmacovigilance is one thing which was not untouched 10-15 years back. Now currently everyone started speaking about pharmacovigilance, and they are speaking more on advancements and futuristic aspects of pharmacovigilance. I'll be focusing on the point, the landscape which got changed in pharmacovigilance and how the pharmacovigilance future looks like for us, and what database companies and what the young mind should think about the pharmacovigilance in futuristic aspects. So now this is my introduction. So primarily everyone started speaking about automation. So that's one point where everyone is started speaking about it, either it is ChatGPT or AI/ML or any kind of technology where automation is bringing in. And pharmacovigilance is not left here. And pharmacovigilance also is focusing on one of the most important thing, which is automation. And one more thing, advanced analytic systems. So we are getting a huge amount of data with respect to adverse events or drug-related risks or number of suspect drugs or co-suspect drugs or medical histories. So many factors are involved when we are processing an adverse events, and there are so much of data, huge volume of data is pushed back because of more reportings, and the regulatory bodies have become more cautious about the reporting, and even the consumers or HCPs have become more focused on patient centricity and pharmacovigilance. Advanced analytics came into picture because when data comes in a huge volume, huge variety of data, huge volume of data, huge veracity of data. So the analytics plays a major role, which understands or interprets the data to take a risk management plan or to plan right recalling plans or risk management plans. And this has given advancement in opportunities. So now either you take it as automation or cognitive technologies or advanced tech. Analytics have given you more opportunities with respect to transforming of pharmacovigilance, where just earlier we used to process a case and report the cases to the regulatory authority. But we are doing it beyond that, so that we can understand about the data trends and data analytics, and we can predict that how much my drug will be safe, and we can plan accordingly the risk benefit profiles or risk management plans. So now this came into picture while we were working day in and day out with pharmacovigilance, and now we have three pictures which I have focused here. One is pharmacovigilance, where we need more trained professionals and the standard operating procedures also. And one more very important thing, because we are into automation and electronic data, the information technology, either it is hardware or software or platforms or networks or firewalls or the securities or the privacies, all this comes into picture in information technology, wherein the data which is being collected from the patients with regards to adverse events or your drug related risk is being securely and correctly, accurately is being posted to the regulatory authorities. And the databases which you are using is being tested, validated, and CSV is being done. The system validation is being done. The scripts are being run correctly. So all this together have changed the landscape of the future of the pharmacovigilance. Now, the pharmacovigilance people does not only think about case processing, but they also think about information technology, how technology can be used, either it is for automation or for data analytics or for firewalls or for security systems or for 21 CFR Part 11s or any kind of technology which is used in pharmacovigilance. We need to understand about it. rather than just understanding what is pharmacovigilance and what is case processing workflow, or what is how the cases comes and how we process the cases. We need to understand about the technology and the dynamics of the technology, and best technologies will always be useful for the submission of the adverse events as soon as possible and preventing the risks of the patients or risk of the drug adverse events as soon as possible. And the databases which you are using, or the IT systems which you are using, the how it is being validated, whether it is CSVs or IQ, OQ, PQs, or design specification is being validated or not. So this in turn gave us so much of futuristic job opportunities, wherein the pharmacovigilance scientist is not only the person who just works on case processing workflow or DSAs. So now the industry drivers for new PV era. So this is one more most important point, that why are we thinking about future of pharmacovigilance? Why can't we have the old historic pharmacovigilance systems which were already there? So the first point is growing AE volumes and with disease burden complexities of the adverse events, because the patients are getting so much of new adverse events, and the volume of adverse events have drastically increased because the patient started reporting it, HCP started speaking it, everyone is day in and day out is speaking about drug related risks, adverse events and side effects. Everything is being reported and the volume has been drastically increased, and the new technologies have to be implemented into pharmacovigilance. So now increased complexity in product portfolios and turnaround. So in the earlier days, we used to just think, okay, we will have a drug and we will bring up a drug and we will market it, and then we will collect the adverse events. But now we have got so many new drugs, which are biological drugs or biosimilars or devices or vaccines. So we have got so many kind of a newer complex products, wherein the need of understanding about the drugs, understanding about the technology, understanding about the pharmacovigilance, and putting all together at one place, we have to think about the futuristic aspect. And one more most important thing, variables and social medias and real world data. So we are speaking more about the variables, sensors, how the data can be collected and how science can be reported. Earlier, we just used to go and ask patient, have you got adverse event? But we are not now asking the subjects whether you have got an adverse event or not. We are taking into consideration of variables where the patient does not need to respond any adverse events. The variables only will collect the information about his vital signs or his data of adverse events and report directly to the system. And coming back to social medias, where so much of discussions will be happening about the adverse events, and real world data, where the huge amount of data is being collected from the hospitals, which can be used further for pharmacovigilance. Evolution of data science and machine learning for signal detection and case management. So we have bought one of the most important thing, which is understanding the data as per the pharmacovigilance. So data science has emerged so much high that how data can be understood, how it can be interpreted, how it can be predicted, how it can be injected, how it can be reported. So many things regarding the data we got it, and we were working on this data analytics, and now we came up with saying that data science is something we need to understand how it is being designed and how the data is infused or injected, how it is being processed, how it is being analyzed, and how it is being submitted to the regulatory authorities. So we started thinking in that lines, and the signals which were very, very tough to identify earlier, now we have technology to be used. And with the help of technology, we are identifying any unexpected or new kind of trends or new kind of adverse event which are going to happen in the market. And more complex global regulations, every regulatory body has came up with more regulations, because we came up with so much of new designs and so much of new things, that decentralized data collection systems, or we are taking a boats, or we are taking IVRs, or we are taking some other technologies for collecting the data from the patient. So more global regulations, global regulatory authorities have came up and given more complex regulations. To meet up the regulations, we need to be up to the mark or futuristic aspect, that how the regulatory requirement can be understood with regards to pharmacovigilance. And raising cost and organization revenue cycle management, the cost has to be decreased, and the futuristic aspect, with the help of technology and advancement, we can reduce the cost with the help of automation, or with the help of newer analytics or data predictions, we can reduce the cost of the organizations also. Regulatory bodies are evaluating the real world studies also, real world evidence studies also. They are looking at very carefully the hospital data which is being used by your drug which you are selling, and they are coming up and reporting that we are seeing some trends of adverse events of this kind of information. Can you look into it? So earlier we used to just get the sources from either literature or spontaneous or XYZ sources, but we are getting now real world evidence studies also, or real world data also from directly regulatory authorities or from the hospitals to understand about the trends of the adverse events or risk of the drugs. Increased consumptions and patient centricity also have increased. The patient's reporting has been very much increased. The need of patient centricity has been increased so much. And the patients have taken it into the part that they are part of a pharmacovigilance or they are part of a clinical research industry. So now, earlier we used to say, okay, you are away from this clinical research, you have to just take a drug and go. But now the patient have become an integral part of healthcare system. He is the one who gives the outcome of the assessments or outcome of a disease or outcome of his problems. With his valuable data only, we can understand that how we can plan the risk management plans, or how we can plan about the drug labeling, or how we can plan about the adverse events. So this is the drivers for new era of PV, wherein the futuristic pharmacovigilance will go ahead in this lines. And now the current emerging and futuristic areas, what was established and what is the emerging and what would be the experimental things, what are there. So I just wanted to put some light on history, current and future. So earlier established were data sources, which were case reports, either it is journals or already published literatures or spontaneous cases or XYZ cases. We were already published that, or we already established that systems wherein directly you get a cases from the patient and you go and process the case and you report it. So that was the established one, which we were already doing from since years together. But what is emerging is your EHRs, electronic health records, where it has become an integral part of your clinical research or a pharmacovigilance, that how EHRs and EMRs can be brought up into the pharmacovigilance system, and how insurance claim can be brought up into the systems, and how real world evidence studies, as I have already explained, that how real world data can be integrated as part of pharmacovigilance is emerging. And the experimental, what we are futuristically looking at it is online discussions within forums, and sensor data, how this sensor data directly reported from the patients directly integrated with the PV systems, and reporting apps, either it is chat GPTs or XYZ, how reporting apps can be put into directly patient's hand, so that they can report any kind of adverse events with respect to apps, mobile devices, and social media networking. And analysis, we have so much of things about analysis, because the whole logic here is speaking about the pharmacovigilance cases and analytics or analysis of the cases. Either it is statistical analysis, or your digital signal processing, or machine learning, or NLPs, or natural language processing, which is advanced kind of tool. We are using multiple tools, or Python, or we are using Power BI. Sometimes we use SAS also for analytics to understand the data trends and to predict what is going to happen and how are we going to avoid or prevent those kind of drug related risks or adverse events. And coming back to capabilities, so one is the case processing, the automation of data, wherein directly intake of the processing can happen and help significantly improve the efficiency and the quality of the AE cycle. So why do we require a person to go and enter the data into the system rather than directly automating direct intake from the patient into the database? How are we going to put the automation into case processing, or the case processing automation can be done? And coming back to aggregate reporting, to accommodate high volume of cases and large data sets, how can we create it without more importance of human being to spend more time rather than system or machine learning to do a lot of work? Either it is signal detection or evaluation and management. We can implement our technologies, we can implement our knowledge to consolidate and streamline the process of signal management, wherein exact outcome is coming every time wherever you are doing it. And metrics, safety metrics, how the data can be put into a data analytics or metrics data to make sure that we are learning about the adverse event immediately and understanding and accessing the adverse events and preventing those adverse events as soon as possible. So that is what is safety metrics. So either you take in case processing or signal management, aggregate reporting, everywhere we are implementing technology, and everywhere we are implementing the IT aspects wherein we can bring in more kind of opportunities for new young people. So now, to be honest on this part is, we need to understand about the technology, we need to understand about the pharmacovigilance, and we need to understand the gaps where we can fill it up. So that's where we came up along with Sargent Systems, why, how, and whether we can do hands-on for the students to understand this kind of learning. And that's where the advanced learning is been, advanced learning and certification are essential for your career. So how this has been designed? So this is designed to provide participants with comprehensive understanding of latest technology, latest technology in the field of pharmacovigilance, covers the advanced topics such as artificial intelligence, data analytics, and risk management. By enrolling into the programs, participants can learn about the latest tools, the advanced tools which are being used in pharmacovigilance, and practical hands-on on the system's real-world cases and real kind of evidences which you can use on the databases. We came up with advanced certification programs wherein this is helping the students, young minds, to learn hands-on on the system, where Pratik will be one more time taking about the PV Edge, and he will be showing how the system looks and how the system makes you more comfortable and lesser time with more quality, designed to help participants to develop the skills which are needed to analyze and interpret the data and identify the trends, make the appropriate decisions. So most importantly, that how pharmacovigilance was looked at earlier was just a case processing, and then you lost everything. And now, but now we want a skill which is used for analyzing, interpreting, or identifying the trends and making informed decisions for the pharmacovigilance. With the increase of volume of data, the skills to manage or analyze the data effectively has been increased. We need more skills to analyze more and more and more the data analytics, wherein the visualization techniques can be used, either it is Power BI or Python, how you can visualize that, how many subjects have taken your drug and how the drug is acting on the human beings. You can visualize that and you can project it to the regulatory authorities. So this is the need of the advanced certification, where Clinosol has joined hands in with PVH, where Clinosol students are getting hands-on experience with live studies and live cases. So who are we? As already we have said that Clinosol is established in the year 2019. We are MSME, ISO 9001 trademark organization. We got back 4 awards back to back. We have an association collaboration with SCDM, ACDM, and ACRP. And we have collaboration with academia, industry, and consulting organization. We give trainings for freshers, corporate trainings, and we collaborate with a lot of companies also. So these are the big list of trainers who train our students back to back. And these are our services, advanced PG diploma certificates, either for pharmacovigilance or CDM or regulatory or scientific or clinical data analytics. And this is highlights of our courses. 250 hours is learning and combinational courses, and add-on of 30 hours, practicals of 15 hours, and mentorship of 30 hours. So this is about our placements. In 2019, we had 75, 2020, we have 125, and 2021, we have 378 placements, 2022, 178 placements, 2023, we have 35 placements till now. And these are our student performance. As already have been informed that we have published more than 500 blogs and 100+ articles and nearly 600+ presentation we have given. And this is our practical live trainings. One is PVH and one is Clinion. PVH is for pharmacovigilance and Clinion is for CDM. And these are our international collaborators, SCDM, ACDM, and ACRP. Students get access for these organizations for 1 year so that they can learn hands-on. Our overseas partners, international partners is MARS, and resource consulting is Talents Ruby. And this is our student feedback. When we have taken from 90 students, the data was showing that the process or training approach or curricular activities, course material were out of 10, it was 8. And I think with this, I'll stop my session and I'll hand it over to Pratik At the end, we can take some questions, Pratik. I think, Pratik, you are there.
Yes, Mujib, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Pratik, if I have taken more time for you. So I tried to wind it up within 15 minutes as promised.
Yeah,
So
but I would appreciate, but that was a great insight on the industry. I mean, ongoing practice, and it was very futuristic.
yeah, thank you. And everyone is expected to listen to you. That's why I closed the session. So Pratik, you can share your screen. And by any chance, you are showing any one or two cases or one case somehow today?
Yeah,
So
sure.
people-
I'll take the quick presentation and then I'll show the database as well.
Perfect, perfect. And all your questions will be answered at the end, guys. All your questions will be handled at the end. Thank you, Pratik. You can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mujib. So I'm sharing my screen. Just confirm when it's visible to everyone.
Yes, it is. Pratik, would you like to switch on your video or it is fine?
Yeah, it is fine. Just wanted to present, right?
Yeah.
So to take from Mujib, right, what he stated about the industry, how the industry has evolved, right? Currently, pharmacovigilance as a profession is evolving, many folds, right, ahead of its time, and it is important for users to be keep learning and stay ahead of their peers, right? That's why, I mean, that's how you can proceed in a better position. So I'll start with the basic overview of the pharmacovigilance, right? I'm sure most of you must be aware, right? But I'll take it, and then we can proceed to the database and what are the roles and scopes of a pharmacovigilance associate in the industry, right? So to start with, uh, let's say what is PV, right? So every authority, every regulatory authority, every body has its definition, right? There are similarities, right? But what is PV in real world, right? Let's say, for example, how do you know what activities a company has to do, right? So let's take an example. For example, we'll take an example of COVID, right? During COVID, we all had vaccines, right? And we all must have experienced any sort of adverse events, right? So what we as a users will do, we just ignore those, right? So we assume that it might happen with the product and it is for our benefit, right? That is okay. But if anything happens to the general population on a large, right, it is better to report it to the authority. How the authority, or let's say a MAH, that is marketing authorization holder, would know that a consumer is experiencing certain sort of adverse event, right? So here comes the communication or the awareness about the things. So what I as a user can do, I would report it to the regulatory authority or MAH, right? They are going to database my information, and on the basis of that, they would perform multiple things, right? They would, let's say, perform aggregate reporting. They would do the signal detection, and at the end, they will take the actions that is better for the humankind, right? So that is PV, right? What is the role of a pharmacovigilance associate? They would be collecting the data, they would be databasing it, right? They would report it to the regulatory authority. They would analyze the data in aggregate reporting and and in the signal detection, and on the basis of analysis, it is a regulatory is called to take the action upon that, right? Pharmacovigilance, let's say, is applicable to drugs, right? So majorly all the drugs are under pharmacovigilance scanner. Then some herbal products as well, right? Around 300 herbal products. Then medical devices, biologicals, and blood products. Now, I believe you all have from the life science background, so you know how the product has been developed, right? So you know that a product has been developed in the lab, then it comes to the clinical trial phase, and post completion of the clinical trial, it would come in the market as a phase 4, which is your post-marketing surveillance, right? So why pharmacovigilance is important, right? The major reason for pharmacovigilance is the public health, right? Ultimately, if everyone is reporting their issues, right, this will create the awareness, and it is going to benefit to the humankind as a whole, right? So patient care is primary, right? If everyone is participating, it is going to benefit the public health as well. So on a whole, everyone is going to benefit it. Then risk benefit. Now, for example, a COVID product has been launched, right? We all took the COVID vaccine. Some some, let's say, where there are very few scenarios where it was very extreme. Let's say some users might have passed away, right? But if you compare the risk benefit assessment, whether these particular product is giving me the benefits in comparison to the risk, if that is more, then the product can continue in the market. And if it is very risky, then it can be discontinued. I will give you an example. During COVID, there was a product from the J&J, right, which was a single shot vaccine, right? Now, when the single shot vaccine was launched in US, it was, got attention of many of the users. Why? Because it was a single shot vaccine. But the disadvantage with that was it was causing blood clots, right? Blood clots among the users. And when it gets started reporting, I believe around it was 6 to 9 months from this its launch in the market, it has been withdrawn from the market, right, by many countries. And ultimately it was withdrawn completely because the adverse events, that is your risk, was higher compared to your benefit. So the benefit analysis can be performed, and at last the communication, right? So ultimately the general public is aware about the indication, the adverse event, the serious adverse event, and these all tasks starts with reporting, right? So I as a consumer has to report, and you as a pharmacovigilance associate have to database these cases, right? Now in pharmacovigilance, general processes, you are going to database the case, then someone will perform the QC, that is your, let's say, peer review. Post that, a medic user is going to perform the causality, and they will write the company's comment, and then the case would be submitted to the pertaining authority depending on the licenses they have in different regulatories. Once the cycle is completed, then the aggregate reporting starts, right? That is your PSUR, PADER, PBRER. If it's clinical trial cases, then DSURs, right? So aggregate reporting starts, and then it has a life cycle. It has to be reported to the regulatory authority. And in the same way, you can start the signal as well, right? So signal is usually 3 months, 6 months, and yearly, depending upon the product which is in the watch list or not, right? So signal. So everything starts after you perform these tasks. If you're a fresher, you might be possible that you get in any of these roles, primarily triaging or processing, right? And then once you get the experience, you proceed further, right? So what task let's say if you get employed in any of the firm, what task you are going to perform. So when you receive the source document can be from any source, right? So it can be from the consumer, it can be from the regulatory authority, from the MAH or partner, right? It can be from anywhere. You have to analyze the source document, you have to check the validity, you have to perform duplicate check, right? And then you have to import the cases, and case would be processed. Now, these all tasks has been coming on from, let's say, last 10 to 15 years, but many firms, even Sargent system, we have started automating it, right? So certain tasks get automated, right? So it is ultimately going to benefit the users as well, right? So automations have been started, but you should be aware how it has been performed, right? So once you do that, then case processing followed by peer, met, and submission, right? So this is the major task. Then quality, that is QA, is placed in every firm, right? This is as per the agreements with their, let's say, companies which they have, right? The companies for which they are going to perform the pharmacovigilance practice. So the QA activity is must. For non-serious cases, they have different rules. For serious cases, they have different rules. So QA activity has been performed, right? And then inspection by the various authorities. So if you are a part of pharmacovigilance team, if there is an inspection, you have to participate. Right. So like I have said, you can get into various roles, right? So it can be from triaging, case processing, let's say QC, right? So medic user, for medic user, you have to be a medicine graduate, right? So if you are a medicine graduate, you can get into the medic user, and then submission. And once you get the experience, then you can venture into the aggregate reporting as well, right? In case processing, let's say you have the source document, right? So in source document, you have to database everything that has been passed, right? So once you database it, there are two terms, right? There are two things, that is your medical coding, and that is the adverse event coding and product coding. The adverse event coding usually happens with MedDRA, right? I'm sure you must have heard the name. Medra is a dictionary, right? That is used to code the events. And similarly, there is a product coding, which is WHO drug dictionary, right? That is used to code the product, right? Now, Medra gets updated twice in a year, right? And frequency of the WHO drug dictionary is not specified, but it usually have a periodic update as well. All right. So I have showcased, we have discussed what is pharmacovigilance, right? What the users would be doing, right? And what you are going to be, right? There are multiple safety databases in the market, right? TVH is one of them, right? So if you get employed in any of the firm, it is possible that you might get TVH in the, let's say, firm that you have hired. I will just show you how does it look, right? A brief. Now this is the home page. I will log in with the case processor user. Okay. So when you open, it would look like this. You will have multiple fields, like Mujib said, right? So if you get enrolled at Clinosol, you will have the hands-on training to this. I will just show you the case. Now in PV, there are multiple guidelines that needs to be followed, right, for every activity you perform, because it has been governed by regulatory authority, right? So you have to analyze everything, right? So this is all basic, right? You must know these things, right, to proceed, let's say, further in career as a pharmacovigilance associate, right? So these are the fields that will be fetched once you create a case. This is known as case safety ID, AER number, right? So in the ADR tab, you can have the basic fields. That is the source country, right? That is the country where the event was reported from, right? So that is the source country. Then you have dates, right? ADR received date, company received it. The most common date which you hear in pharmacovigilance is day 0, right? That is your latest received date, which is your ADR received date. Right. So in the ADR entry tab, a few values will be auto-populated, and you have to populate certain values like dates and source country. Right. Then you have to specify what is the report type and source. For every case, you have to fill in the detail about the reporter, right? So if you have received the cases from the regulatory authority, it would be in the form of XML, right? There are two types of XMLs, R2 and R3. So depending on the authority, you will receive the XMLs. If you have uploaded the XMLs, all the fields will get auto-populated. You don't have to do anything. You just have to cross-verify. If it's a normal case, you have to process every field, right? So I'm showcasing you, if you're processing a normal case, what fields you have to populate. So basically, you are going to enter the details about the reporter. Now let's take in scenario. For example, I being a consumer, I have reported on behalf of my friend, right? So here details of my would go in as a primary reporter, right? So I will just take in this and enter the detail about, let's say, reporter, and it get added. So it will reflect like this, right? Similarly, if it's a literature case, you have to enter the details about all the authors that are present in the literature case. Your primary author would be your primary source for regulatory purpose, because we are going to follow up with that particular user, right? We mark these because we are going to perform follow-up. For rest, we will edit, and depending upon, let's say, on the follow-up, we can change this primary source for regulatory purpose, right? So in the primary source, you are going to enter the details about the reporter. From the name, you can make out it is about the patient. So you can enter the details about the patient, right? So height, weight, what is the sex of the patient. If the patient is female, then you can have further details about last menstrual period, date, pregnancy details. If pregnancy is there, then details about the children, and everything can be populated using these fields, right? Similarly, patient's past medical history and past drug history can also be entered in the particular tab, right? So you would be entering it over here. Now here, this sign is basically for Medra. So you will code the let's say verbatim that the user has shared with you. Once you click on the is equal to sign, it is going to fetch the nearest LLT term, right? Now, what is LLT, right? So for Medra, there is a hierarchy. LLT is the lowest level term, followed by PT, right? And then you have the HLT and HLDT, and then SOC. You just have to remember the lowest two terms, that is your LLT and PT. In PB, we generally code by LLT. Any sort of reports that we are going to submit to the regulatory authority, it would be on the top, on PT, right? For now, just remember these two terms, LLT and PT. So once you do that, it can be entered, right? So this is your patient tab. In PB, some cases are known as special cases, right? And among that, one case is baby mother cases or fetus mother cases. So in that sort of cases, you have to enter the detail about the parent, and that can be incorporated into the parent tab. Here you can specify the detail about the parent's past medical history and past drug history. Now these product tab and A tab, right? These two tabs are very important because majorly the analysis happens on these, on the basis of these two tabs. So in the product, you are going to code with the WHO drug dictionary, the details about the product that has been passed, right? So let's say in the current scenario, it was cisplatin as a company suspect. So it has been coded, right? So you can code it, you can write the indication of the product. Then you can write the dosage regimen, right? Whatever the dosage regimen have been passed on to the source document, that can be entered over here, right? And similarly, if you have further details about the drug, it can be entered into the drug relevant information, right? So whatever task you perform, you just have to click on add, and a grid like these will be generated, right? So that is your product tab. On the same lines, you have the adverse event tab. The only difference here is you have to code it with the Medra dictionary, because you are going to enter the details about the reactions that has happened, right? So here few fields are mandatory, right? So you have to code the event, then you have to code the outcome, right? And then if you have the dates, you can enter it, otherwise you can just ignore it. If it's a serious case, you have to specify the seriousness from here, right? So there are 6 seriousness criteria, right? I will show you. There are 6 seriousness criteria on the basis of which the case is considered as serious or non-serious. Right, so you can see, let's say if I mark this case as a serious, so you will see the 6 criteria. So basically it is your death, disability, life-threatening, congenital anomaly, hospitalization, and other medically important condition, right? So these 6 are the criteria. The last criteria is basically your IME, right? So when the Medra is released, along with that, you have a list of event that has been released, which is called as IME, right? Important medical events. So the events mentioned in that list would be auto considered as a serious, right? So for example, let's say we have a term called nausea. Now it is a non-serious event, right? But if the nausea is mentioned in IME, the case would be auto marked as a serious because it is present in IME. Right? So on the basis of these 6 criteria, the case would be marked as serious and non-serious, and that can be fetched into this particular AE tab. Then you have product AE tab. In product AE tab, you're going to perform causality and labeling. Right now, these 2 tasks are very tricky tasks. Right. Previously, the users have to capture these information, right, on the basis of the information shared. But nowadays, due to automation, these 2 fields get auto fields, right? But you, as a user, should know that how these values are captured, right? Because there are chances that when the label gets updated, you get the wrong information about the labeling, right? So you should be aware how to add these information. You as an advanced user, that is data entry professional, you are going to enter the causality, but a medic user, right? So confirmation is on the basis of a medic user, right? So these task is important for medic users as well, right? So this is your causality. And on the same lines, you're going to capture the labeling as well, right? Now labeling happens on the licenses. Now, for example, if I am based in US, right, I have a product authorized in US, so I have licenses for US as well, right? So for US, I'm going to submit this case. But what if I have the same product marketed in EU as well? So there, this case would be submitted as well. Right? So there are certain criteria for submission, but if that falls, I have to submit there as well. So if I am going to submit it to the EU, I am going to label it according to EU as well. So that is your labeling. So product A is specifically for causality and labeling. Then from the name, you can make out lab assessment is to capture the lab details, right? Your lab details, your procedures that is been performed on, let's say, particular user, your past procedures or current procedures, right? Everything can be added here and it can be reflected like this, right? So this is your lab assessment. Assessment tab is basically the, I would say, whatever we have captured till lab assessment, it is going to reflect here, right? But assessment tab is important because it is going to notify whether these keys would be expedited or non-expedited. What is expedited? Expedited is whether this case would be reported. If yes, then what is the timeline, right? So if it is a serious case, it would be by default 15 days, but depending on the different regulatory authority, the timelines can change. For example, if it is a fatal case, you have to submit it within 7 days. For certain authorities, for example, Iraq and Kazakhstan, for fatal cases, you have to notify it within 24 to 48 hours to the regulatory authority, right? So depending on the regulatory authority, the rule changes, but if it's a serious case, it has to be submitted within 15 days. If it is non-serious, 60 or 90 days, depending on the regulatory authority, right? So if you are going to report it, it would be expeditable. If you are not going to report it, it would be non-expeditable, right? So these particular tab will decide whether the case would be reported or not. And on the basis of these, the submission user is going to submit the cases. Then coming to the next step, which I believe majority of the user find it very tricky, is narrative writing, right? Now, thanks to automation, narratives can be auto-generated, right? Depending on the information what you have captured. Companies have practice in place where if it's a non-serious case, you are going to generate the auto narrative and they are going to push the case to the next workflow. But if it is a serious case, you have to write the narrative, right? So still you have to write the narrative, but you have the format auto-generated and you can follow that, right? So that is your narrative. The sender's comment is specifically for to write the company's remarks, right, for a particular case, and these is generally filled by the medic user. Then you have sender and receiver detail. So basically, I am a client A, right? I am a company, and I have to submit it to the regulatory authority. So I would be the sender, and the regulatory authority would be a receiver, right? So detail of in sender, the details of my company would go in, and in receiver, details about the authority, regulatory authority would go in, right? Here in the case processing, this is not beneficial, but while submitting of the cases, this is very beneficial field, right? And it has to be entered. Then you have literature document or document attachment section. You can attach any sort of document here. It is mandatory to attach the document, right? So you have to attach the document in this section. And now I will show you, a few moments back, I said there are two types of XMLs, right? So there are multiple regulatory authorities in EU, US FDA, UK MHRA, and Health Canada. So I have just list down the 4 major regulatory authorities. There are multiple authorities, but we'll speak about these 4 authorities because major case volume comes from these 4 authorities. If it is EU, that is EMA, right? So you have R3 XML, and for rest you have R2 XML, right? So I will generate an R2 XML and R3 XML and will show you how does it reflect. Okay. So let's start with R2 XML. So if you can see, this is the R2 XML. So it reflects codes, right? So basically, when I receive XML, let's say source document in this form, I will just upload it to the system and every field get auto-populated, right, wherever information is there. Similarly, when you share this with the regulatory authority, they are going to perform the same task and it get database, right? Here, I believe you can read it, right? Because it is readable, right? Still you can read it, right? Safety report version number, and then what was the transmission rate, right? So you can read it. But there are certain challenges with the R2 XMLs, like few values don't get captured. For example, labeling don't reflect over here, right? So that's why R3 is much more, let's say, automized, or let's say much more clear in terms of capturing of the field. It captures every information that is been added in the case, right? But it is a non-readable format, right? So you can make out from here. You cannot make out what value is what, right? If you want further details on this, right, you can refer the guidelines, right? So you have this, but I will just give the brief. This is known as OID number. For every term that you have entered, there is a OID number, and it would reflect like this, right? So this is R3 XML. So it captures everything, right? So I would say 60% of the cases that you process would be the regulatory cases, and it can be in the form of R2 or R3 XML. From Health Canada, the cases usually comes in the form of Excel sheet, right? So you have to manually process the cases. Automations are available in the market where you would upload the Excel cases and it would convert those into the R2 XMLs, right? Then you have multiple reports, that is your COMs, right? So in few regulatory authorities or to your partners, you're going to share the COMs form. All these reports have standard format and it has to be followed online, right? So this is the COMs form. And there is MedWatch form, right? So if you are in US, right, you can report the cases in the form of MedWatch as well. Right? So this is a MedWatch form. So this is the brief about the case processing, right? So let's say I have processed this case. I will perform the validation, whether all the values have been captured or not. If it has been captured, it would be pushed to the next user, that is your QC user, where the QCer is going to cross verify the details that you have captured along with the source document. Once the QCer is happy, he is going to pass on the comments that are, whether this was a perfect case or there were any errors. Then the case will be pushed to the medic user and followed by submission, where submission is user is going to perform the regular, submissions. Now, post submission, the reports can be generated. So that can be generated from the system itself. So you can generate the reports, and on the basis of the reports, you can perform your analysis. That is your signal detection and aggregate reporting, right? I believe you all have got the brief overview about the system, right? Let's say within the timeline, you cannot go in deep about the system, but yes, I believe you must have got the brief about the system. Okay. Now comes the major part. I believe majority of you would be interested in these aspects, right? Because at the end of the day, we all want to get employed, right? So pharmacovigilance is a career. Now, pharmacovigilance have evolved primarily, let's say I would say in the last 4 to 5 years, right? Previously, it was only, let's say, for example, if you get in an interview, you will get selected as a triage associate or case processor, or in advanced, let's say, medic QC or submission user. Or if you are, let's say, very good with your knowledge, you can employ it into the aggregate reporting, which, these options are still relevant and available, right? And depending on your experience, you would be promoted as a trainer, workflow managers, right? Managers, service delivery managers, project managers, right? So ultimately, you are going to climb the ladder. But what else have been added into the current market scenarios, right? So in the current market scenarios, you can be the computer system validation analyst, right? So basically, you would be performing the analysis of any database, right? And this is very exciting part, right? Computer system validation, right? Which will be performed on certain guidelines. So that can be added. You can be, let's say, safety science specialist, right? Basically, you will act as a consultant, like what I am doing currently, right? But for that, you need to have a basic understanding and certain years of experience. That can be done, right? So if you're keen on, let's say, IT as well, right? IT part as well, and you have cleared the initial hurdle, right? Let's say you have worked for 2 to 3 years, you have understood the pharmacovigilance as an industry, you can venture into something new and which can benefit, way beyond, right, what you can, imagine of, right? So currently there are multiple options in the pharmacovigilance as an industry. It is not only relevant till case processing or let's say aggregate reporting, right? But you have to plan your careers accordingly and you have to work on that, right? I want to add one more thing. You have to keep on learning because you hear the companies are, let's say, removing the employees, or let's say they are relieving all the employees. That was because of the business, right? So you need to understand the business. You need to understand how you're going to benefit the business, right? And in the same way, you have to perform. So Mujib at Clinosol, they have well customized courses. I have seen it on first hand, and they are going to prepare you for the industry, and which is going to benefit you and your family as well, right? Right. So Mujib, I believe I have taken the session, right?
Yes, Pratik, wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I think last part of agenda is a very interesting one, question and answer. So anyone who is there in this call are open to ask questions. Pratik will be able to answer. I'll be able to answer. Anyone wants to ask questions, and we are on top of time. I think 15 minutes ahead of the time. We have another 15 minutes for questions. So we closed it on time. So we are open for questions. Any questions anyone have, you guys can keep asking us either in WhatsApp chat, or if you wanted to unmute yourself, I have made you to unmute. Or anyone from students of Clinosol, anyone wants to ask questions, you are open to ask to Pratik or me. We are open for questions. Hannah, do you have any questions to ask?
Yes, sir. I have a question for Mr. Pratik Pandey. So, as pharmacovigilance processes, they continue to evolve, how does PV Edge adapt to the changing regulatory landscape and emerging industry trends to ensure compliance and effective adverse event management?
Okay. So Hannah, basically, if you go by the regulatory guidelines, right? So if any process which we are going to perform is regulatory compliant, we have to follow certain parameters. Let's say, for example, we have to perform CSV, that is computer system validation, and that will be according to 21 CFR Part 11, right? Then, so we have to perform it. So when the inspection comes in, right? So we have to produce a document and which we perform, right? So in that we usually enter, URS, FS, OQs, PQs, right? IQ activities, user training, and all that, right? Secondly, if we let's say speak about the automations, right? So previously everything was manual, right? So I know few companies who are currently managing it on Excel. Previously, majority of the firms were managing it on Excel, but now companies are moving on to the databases because there are multiple options available in the market. Not only PVH, but there are multiple options available. So it's a very good competition. But I would say yes, computer system validation is very important, and we follow that as per regulatory guidelines.
Yes, thank you.
Anna, if you have more questions, you can go ahead. In the meantime, we'll get some questions in chat. If you have any more questions.
Sir, I had a question to you, sir.
Oh,
Like
okay. Good.
you had spoken about the changing landscape and future of PV above and beyond. So,
Right.
what are the key strategies do you suggest for staying ahead in this changing landscape?
Yeah, the only one update which I think was the skills which will be required for young minds are the change in the mindset, because we are adapting so much of technology and so much of newer technologies and regulatory requirements are coming in picture, and the process is getting more complicated, And we have to be ready to understand and accept this change of technology. No one taught us how to use mobile, but everyone started using mobile and we got addicted. The technology is also the same thing. Point number one, you need to be very sure about the technology. Point number two, you need to be very sure about the regulatory requirements. Point number three is domain knowledge or process knowledge. The domain knowledge which you have studied or the certification which you are doing. So all this together will be adding values to become more futuristic, employable persons. So, and I think, Hannah, the way you do it, sometime I see that you are a very futuristic person, because the way you share the LinkedIn posts or the way you see the artificial intelligence or machine learning is doing the impact, and you share those blogs or articles. So I think that's what the young mind should start doing it. So if they come to know about your LinkedIn also, so because I really appreciate the efforts which you are putting. I go through your LinkedIn profile whenever I get time, and you keep on posting what are the latest advancement, what are the certifications we can do, what are the things which might happen tomorrow. So I think that's what we have to think about it, Hannah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Any more questions, Hannah? Do you wanted to ask?
Just one last question, sir.
Yeah.
So considering the growing trend towards precision medicine and personalized therapies, how do you anticipate pharmacovigilance involving to effectively manage the safety profiles of individualized treatments? And what challenges do you foresee in this regard?
It's a very difficult question. See, we started thinking about precision medicine some 5-6 years back, and we implemented that. If you see that there are so many organizations who is working on understanding about the genes and bringing up the medications. In vitro testing are being done, which medication will give a good outcome to the patients, and they are trying this in the patients. Now it's a reality, but not very much as we are thinking that the precision medicine can be improved very much with a high integrations or high aspects. But this is a topic which is being discussed among the regulatory authorities also. Still, we don't have a regulations for pharmacovigilance for precision medicine. But we have started using precision medicine with respect to the gene therapies, or with respect to understanding the receptors or genes and seeing that which drug will give more efficacy. So, but currently we have not got any particular regulations for precision medicine, but this is untouched topic. And Pratik, you can add some points here if you wanted about precision medicine and any regulation about precision medicine.
Yes, basically what you stated is on point, right? So to add to that, we have to be aware about everything, because once we are aware, we are going to perform the task, and ultimately we are going to be ahead about from the peers, right? And that is what required. I think there is a question from a user in the chat box. It states that difference between MEDRA and WHO, right? Okay. So MEDRA is basically to code the adverse event, right? So it's a dictionary which has been regulated by the regulatory authority, right? And it is been used by every database that is available in the market to use to code the adverse event, right? It gets updated twice in a year. Similarly, WHO is a product dictionary, right? So you code your product with that, right? So this is event and product.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Sandeep Mewada. I am from Indian Pharmacopoeia Commissions, and I ask some questions to Pratik, sir.
Go ahead, Sandeep.
Yes, sir. As PV Edge is a data safety database, so the reports are come from means they are having lots of data also. This data come from where? It is come from a image or any other industry, anything?
Yeah, hi Sandeep. See, basically, data can be gathered from various sources. So basically, if let's say if I am an MAH is marketing authorization holder. If I am marketing certain products, so there is a chances that I will receive the safety reports. It can be from the regulatory authority. It can be from the consumers, right? It can be from the literature article authors, right? So it can be
Okay.
source can be anything. I have to database, and what data I database is my, let's say, data which I am going to submit it to the regulatory authority. So
Means after the analysis of that data, you can submit that data to the regulatory authorities
no,
only.
it is not like that. See, basically, you have to analyze the cases on the basis of 4 parameters, right? So 4 basic parameters of PV, right? If you have found that you have developed, I mean, your medic, let's say the medic user has found that the adverse event was associated with the product, it will get reported to the regulatory authority, right? So you have to report it. The analysis happens post that. That is in the aggregate reporting.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
So I think, Pratik, one more question we have. We are. I'll first take this question and then Pratik can add some point here. Does PVH has certification courses which help us learners in recruitment? We are discussing with PVH to come up with certification program. So Pratik is working along with the management to come up with a set of questions wherein you guys can write certification program on PVH. And then you will be certified from the PVH itself. We are in talks with Pratik. So Pratik, can you let us know what is like
Yeah,
the question was being asked?
like Mujib said, right? So we are currently in let's say discussion. We have not come to any conclusion, but yes, when you enroll with Clinosol, they offer you the hands-on experience, and I believe they offer the certification as well.
Right. But PVH certification, PVH team will give the questions and they will be analyzing your levels like basic or mid or your advanced level, and then they will be giving certification. But that is in pipeline. That is
Yes,
in pipeline.
correct.
Yeah. So that is in pipeline. So you will hear something from PVH team also, and first pilot batch will be the Clinosol students who will be getting the certifications or assessments and other things. So first set of students will identify and will try to give that certification. So I think Shilpa, we have answered your question. Okay. With the advent of real world studies and big data analytics, how do you envision pharmacovigilance incorporating this? We have already incorporated Hannah. I think the tool PVH is having data analytics and the big data, everything is being incorporated within the technology based organization. Even Sargent system is said to be a technology system who provides the services to life sciences industry. So they have this inbuilt. So Pratik, do you wanted to add some value on this point, that how big data
Yes.
analytics or real world evidence are being incorporated in PVH system?
Yes. See, basically, we have developed PVH and we are currently automating multiple features. But everything starting from your data analysis, analytics, right? Big data, everything is incorporated into the system, and that can be generated and can be used for the visualization as well. And we have it currently integrated the Power BI with PVH as well. So if you have dashboard presentations, right, then your reports can be generated from the same as well.
Yeah, I think our students are getting hands-on on Power BI also, and they are visualizing the data. So
Yeah,
that's one.
that is very good.
Yeah, so we are focusing on multiple analytic tools also. So Power BI they are using, and I'm very happy that Power BI is integrated with Sargent system once again, because everything is data and everything should be visualized.
Correct.
Yeah. So any more questions? Very good questions we are getting here. Any more questions? We have another 10 minutes of time. Anyone have any more questions? You can unmute or type. Anyone, guys? Viresh, do you wanted to have any questions?
No, Mujib, let the students ask first.
Yeah.
Because we will be addressing and we'll be having a lot of meetings internally to brainstorm ourselves.
Right.
Now the students more opportunity.
Yeah. Anyone else wanted to ask any questions? Or should I? Yeah. Do you suggest any other? I think we got one more question. Two more questions, Pratik. Do you suggest any other skill incorporated in newcomers, fresher in this industry? So they are asking about any new skills do you suggest?
Perfect.
For
I think,
this
we had
industry?
a discussion. Yeah. Please go ahead, Mohit.
No, I'm okay, but the girl who is asking the question is itself have worked in data science, and
Okay.
she wants to know more about this. She is a student of Clinosol, if I'm not wrong. She is from Karnataka,
Okay.
and she wants to know about what are the new skills. She has already worked as data science, and she is learning now the clinical research.
Correct. See, basically, let's say if you are, let's say, from the pharmacy background, right, or PharmD, right, and you are, let's say, little bit inclined towards IT as well. So you can have, let's say, hands-on training on PVH, right? So you have the database covered. Then, let's say, like Mujib said, users are currently working on Power BI as well. You can learn SQL as well, right? Structured query language. It is very simple. I believe if you practice for 10 to 15 days, even if you're a, let's say, novice, you will be able to have basics covered, right? So that ultimately, you can show in your CV that you are a very keen learner and you can be a very good aspect to the organization. And I believe that will stand out. So whatever you can do to stand out, but I believe the basic should be you should know Excel, you should know Power BI, you should know, let's say, any sort of database, right? These three are, mandatory requirements considering the scenarios in the current market.
So Excel, Power BI, and SQL, and any database and domain knowledge. Domain knowledge is must. Domain knowledge is must.
That is a basic. I mean, from there you start, right? From there you
Yeah.
start. I mean, you need to have that knowledge.
Right. So good. One more question we have got, Pratik. You can take it up. At pharmaceutical industry, increasing explores the innovative approach such as gene and cell therapies, biosimilars, and digital therapeutics. What are the strategies do you recommend for pharmacovigilance to proactively address the unique safety considerations and risk associated to novel interventions? So she is speaking about novel interventions. Do you wanted to take this question, Pratik?
See, basically, there are multiple ways to do it, right? So it depends on companies to companies, right? So depending on the, let's say, MAH, right? Factors and the, let's say, multiple ways can be incorporated into the system, right? But again, it depends on the organization, right? So in general, there are multiple approaches, but it again, the MAH has to take a call on this. Mujib, I believe you can add on this.
I think what is the basic understanding is earlier days we used to speak more about drugs, but now we are speaking more about the molecular biology or how the genes or cell therapies are working to understand the discovery of new medications. And specifically, if you see, earlier days we used to do a trial and error method. But now we have got a very clear picture that how cell transfers are being done, how the gene therapies are being done, and we are working on new models of drug discovery. So the drug discovery itself has got changed with the gene therapy and cell therapies, and definitely the biological products or biosimilars are going to be the future. With the products which are being discovered from the live cells or live animals or human beings, those molecules which are biological molecules cannot be copied as it is directly as a generic molecule, and we are coming up with a new arena which is called as biosimilar, where it shows a similar efficacy. We're not thinking about pharmacokinetics, but we are thinking about the same kind of therapeutic efficacy is being given. That is what you call it as biosimilars, and it's very challenging topic to be discussed, and future is on biosimilars. And definitely biosimilars are going to change the market structure, and pharmacovigilance also will look like in a different way, that how the patented biological product is been getting the adverse events and how your biosimilars So because both products are same, but biologically it is same, but physically, chemically, it's not same. The way it is being manufactured is not same, because the biological product is being manufactured from the living organism, and they will not tell you what is the formula for it. While the drugs were having a different situation, but now the future of the drug discovery or coming up with this market is entirely going to be changed. And these are the words which are going to be changing our future of drug discovery. Either it is gene therapy or cell therapies or biosimilars or digital therapeutics. So either whatever you are using, the sensors or digital therapeutics might change the way the data is being collected, the way that the data is looked at it, and the way the discovery is being performed. So this will be the futuristic, or it's happening now, and it will be more spoken in future with regards to this. So I hope I have answered your question, Hannah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ma. So any other questions anyone have? One more question we have got. What are the key skills and knowledge areas that pharmacovigilance certification should cover? How can individual leverage the training in advancement of their career? It all depends that what career you have chosen. If you are a DSA, then you should go for a one level of other certification. Either it is signal management or either it is aggregate reporting. If you are a fresher, then first step, as already Pratik has informed, is the case processors or the immediate the first grade of certification, which makes you to understand that you really have the knowledge, which is a real-time knowledge about understanding about type of cases or the processing or different data points or ICH E2B formats and all those things you will have to understand. So Sanket, you need to go ahead and tell more details about you. Then only we will be able to justify what certification, what level of understanding you need to have. You can't go directly third step when you have not cleared the first step itself. So any more questions anyone have? So I think we have answered every question, and I hope this was very useful, and students will get you a feedback form where you can complete a feedback form, and next week we might release the certificate for the participation of live webinar in pharmacovigilance. So you'll be receiving a certificate also of participation, but those people who have completed the feedback form will be getting this.